Okay, so the big news of the day, of course, is that Gary Cohn, that globalist cuck, is out. Breitbart, of course, is celebrating with pictures of globes popping all over the place. All of it is very, very exciting. Here's the story about Gary Cohn. Gary Cohn was Trump's top economic advisor. About 3 weeks ago, people were suggesting that Gary Cohn was about to take over for John Kelly as chief of staff, that Kelly was on the outs, and Gary Cohn was about to enter. Now, Gary Cohn has been shoved aside in favor of Peter Navarro. Gary Cohn is a Democrat, but he's a free trade Democrat. Peter Navarro is also a Democrat, but he is a non-free trade Democrat. So Peter Navarro has a bunch of kooky theories about why 17th century mercantilism is actually genius economic policy. He's wrong, but Trump believes all that stuff because Trump has this 1950s era vision of the United States in which smelters are working full bore and Pittsburgh is the center of steel production. Now, never mind that when Pittsburgh was the center of steel production, the environment was really not nice, and that pretty much every film about blue-collar America in the 1960s and 70s featured people being miserable in steel production in Pittsburgh. All of that is irrelevant to President Trump. He thinks so goes, as the steel industry goes, so goes the United States economy. Now, that isn't true. The steel part of the industry, the steel industry has been the same percentage of the American economy approximately since about 1983. We've produced about the same amount of steel since then. We've just done it with 25% as many employees because technology has gotten a lot better. But Trump says he wants tariffs, and tariffs there shall be. So Gary Cohn yesterday submitted his resignation. He said, I am out. So the New York Times reports White House officials insisted there was no single factor behind the departure of Mr. Cohn, who heads the National Economic Council. But his decision to leave came as he seemed poised to lose an internal struggle over Mr. Trump's plan to impose large tariffs on steel and aluminum imports. Now, remember, Trump really doesn't know what he's talking about on these tariffs. Trump is arbitrarily setting the numbers. Even Peter Navarro had suggested a 25% import tariff on steel. And Trump said, why don't we, a 24% import tariff on steel. Trump had said, why don't we make it 25? Let's make it 25 because it's a nice round number, which is just a great way to do economic policy. Cohn had warned last week he might resign if Trump followed through with the tariffs. Cohn had lobbied against them internally. The biggest problem here was not that Cohn lost a policy battle, because when you're in the administration, of course, sometimes you're going to lose policy battles. That's just the way that it goes. The president of the United States makes the final call. Everybody else works for him. But the problem here is that Trump was having meetings off the books with Wilbur Ross, the Commerce Secretary, as well as with Peter Navarro. He wasn't actually letting his national economic advisor know. And then he went directly around him and announced a tariff without any supporting structure in place. So he's talking about tariffs. There's not a single executive order, not a single piece of legislation, not a single policy paper that's been put out explaining what exactly Trump wants here. He just went out there and said, I want tariffs, and tariffs there shall be. And suddenly Gary Cohn was out in the dark. So Gary Cohn has his authority entirely undercut, which is the real reason that he's leaving. Trump gave a statement to the New York Times that Gary has been my chief economic advisor and did a superb job in driving our agenda, helping to deliver historic tax cuts and reforms and unleashing the American economy once again. He's a rare talent, and I thank him for his dedicated service to the American people. He's expected to leave in coming weeks. That means that in the past few weeks, Rob Porter is gone. Hope Hicks is gone. Josh Erfel in comms is gone. Gary Cohn is gone. McMaster is apparently on his way out as well. So the turnover in the Trump administration is extraordinarily high, and this is having a pretty marked impact on the market. So the markets right now are responding with a lot of trepidation to how this is going. And it is amazing. If you look at the pictures of the Trump administration and its early iteration, and you see all the people who are standing next to Trump, virtually everyone is gone. Mike Flynn is gone. Katie Walsh is gone. Sean Spicer is gone. Hope Hicks is gone. Reince Priebus is gone. Steve Bannon is gone. And now Gary Cohn is gone. Right? Everybody is basically gone at this point. And not only that, because Trump likes governing through chaos, because he likes that, apparently, according to a number of sources, President Trump was freeing up Anthony Scaramucci to go on cable news and take shot after shot at John Kelly, the White House chief of staff. According to CNN, the president has emboldened Scaramucci, the former communications director, another guy who was in the administration and was there for 5 seconds. He was fired after 10 days to continue attacking John Kelly during his cable news appearances, a source familiar with the situation told CNN. So Trump has basically operated the White House like Joaquin Phoenix in Gladiator. He's just sitting there watching people fight each other. Let them fight. It's the new Godzilla movie. Let them fight. He's just enjoying watching the carnage as his top advisors savage one another and people outside the White House beat the crap out of one another because Trump likes the reality TV feel. He likes the feeling of chaos. Well, bad news. It's hard to get good staffers into a chaotic White House. Why would you give up a good-paying job somewhere else to enter into an administration where the chances that you're going to be ripped by your boss publicly are 1 in 2, the chances that somebody else in the administration is going to rip you publicly are 2 in 3, and the chances that you will leave in ignominious disgrace are probably 85%. Does that sound like a really good bet for you? Now, listen, there are a lot of people in the White House who are thinking about leaving and have been thinking about leaving for a long time. And this isn't common knowledge in Washington, D.C. circles because they don't like Trump's chaotic moves here. Again, the swiveling is so fast and so problematic that it's hard to imagine how Trump is either hemmed in by anyone with how his advisors hem him in from making bad decisions. It's also hard to imagine how he's going to get top staffers anymore. Remember, Sam Nunberg was fired, and Sam Nunberg went on TV the other day and made a fool of himself. This administration, the turnover rate is really rapid, and not everybody is being replaced by better people. So here is Donald Trump praising Gary Cohn 2 months ago. Okay, this is not 5 years ago. This is 2 months ago, praising Gary Cohn.
I said, will Gary Cohn continue or remain in the administration? I said, I hope so. Now, if he leaves, I'm going to say, I'm very happy that he left, okay? All right? Come here, Gary. Are you happy, Gary? Just yes, a very big bill. I think he's pretty happy. Yes, I'm happy. How's that?
He's so happy he's leaving 5 seconds later. Yeah, so well done, President Trump. And then President Trump came out yesterday at a press conference, and he said that everyone wants to work in his administration. He came out and he said, no, you understand. It's not that we have staff turnover here. It's that everyone wants to be here. This is the place to be.
The White House has tremendous energy. It has tremendous spirit. It is a great place to be working. Many people want every single job. You know, I read where, maybe people don't want to work for Trump. And believe me, everybody wants to work in the White House. They all want a piece of that Oval Office. They want a piece of the West Wing.
No, this is not a true statement. Okay, so it's hard to break it to you, Mr. President, but nobody wants to work for you. Okay, no one wants to work for you. The turnover rate at this White House is extraordinary, and it's extraordinary not because you disagree with your top advisors or because your top advisors feel they've gotten the job done. The turnover is extraordinary because people, again, feel like they're being backstabbed every second of the day. You got to feel like your boss has your back. Okay, you do. We have pretty good staff retention here at the Daily Wire, and that's because the people who work here know that in the end, I'll take the hit rather than having my employees take the hit. I rip on my employees on the air sometimes, but they know that I'm joking, right? Mathis knows that I think he does a really good job and that I have a lot of appreciation for his skill. That's the nicest thing I'm ever going to say publicly about you, Mathis. Everybody else here knows that's the case as well. That's why we're able to retain staff and we have good staff loyalty, because we all feel like we're pushing in the same direction. We all have the same general principles about American politics, and because people know that we're not going to stand for employees stabbing each other in the back. But Trump likes that style of management. He thinks somehow that this strengthens him. He thinks somehow that this makes his administration better and stronger. It doesn't. And what's worse, it makes the policy worse, because then he brings in people who are able to bend his ear. So if you kiss Trump's ass, there's a very good shot that his policy is going to become your policy. I said right after Anthony Scaramucci left that if I wanted to be White House comms director, I probably could do it just by appearing on Fox and Friends every other morning and praising Trump to the skies. And I guarantee you that within 3 weeks, I get a call from Trump or somebody close to the administration asking if I wanted a job in comms. That's not how you ought to run an administration, particularly if you're supposed to have things that you want to do. And this is part of the problem. The Trump administration ran through large elements of its agenda in the first year. And those agenda elements were quite good. A lot of those agenda items were things that I agreed with, things that I liked. And now Trump is bored. And idle hands are the devil's playground. Now, the fact is that the president doesn't have a lot to do right now, and so he's sticking his thumb into pies that he has long wanted to stick his thumb into. He's always had this bizarre notion that America's trade is thwarting American growth, which is just not true. He's always had this very weird idea that trade is a zero-sum game, that when you and I make a voluntary transaction that we've both lost, or that one of us has gained more than the other, or that one of us has gained at the expense of the other. None of that is true. And so you're seeing it in the markets today. You're seeing that the markets are responding to these indicators from the president with a lot of trepidation. The Dow Jones Industrial Average today is down 338 points already. A lot of the commodities markets are down significantly because people understand that Trump is now on principle going to raise tariffs. Now, there are a lot of people who are saying today that when it comes to tariffs, everything will be fine. This is not going to have a major impact on the economy. Wilbur Ross was out saying that yesterday. He held up a Campbell's soup can on Sunday and claimed that if your price of Campbell's soup goes up only 3 cents, it's not a big deal. Wilbur Ross, what would he know about drinking from a Campbell's soup can? The guy's literally a billionaire. And he was on national TV holding up Campbell's soup cans. He was talking about tariffs a little bit more yesterday and trying to defend Trump's tariff regime, even though there really is no economic basis for it. Again, the industries that are supposed to be protected here are already dominant in American life. They produce 70% of American steel. Their stock has been up for the past several years. Their production was up 5% on average last year. Doesn't matter. Trump has this vision that we are going to, he has this bizarre utopian notion that we're going to shut down Google and ramp up Nucor. That all the people who are currently working in tech are going to suddenly be working in the smelting industry. It's just not true. It's just silly.